control or
Oh, yeah.
gun rights, depending on which way you're going to party. And you'll find that if someone's aligned with a party, you're not going to be able to have a conversation with them about
Not
it.
at all.
It's
Well, look,
same with abortion.
We've done it loads of times. If
You know,
if I say there's a problem with guns in the States,
mm,
you know, it's not necessarily the guns themselves. There is a problem per capita. There's a massive issue. However, it is their right to own them. And my point's always been, as long as it is your right, you should own them. Until you decide you don't want that right anymore.
yeah.
And I would never advocate one way or another. But I'm instantly called, you know, you want to take our guns away. Why would I want to do that? It's got nothing to do with it. If you think what's happening is the acceptable price for that freedom, then that is the price you pay for that freedom, and so be it.
Well, you've got to look at it in America as well, because for generations people brought guns in schools. They had
Well,
lessons
it's the
on guns,
culture.
and it
It's
wasn't
part of their
necessarily.
culture. Just because we
Yeah.
don't understand it, but the same has to be applied to these Americans, though. Oh, you Brits are pussies. You don't have guns. What? No, we have a different culture. We did that for hundreds of years. Then around the 1700s, 1800s, I think private citizens started to give up the guns. And there were several movements. Now you're saying you've traded your freedom, your guns, because in your culture you associate your freedom with this mythical idea that you could stand up to your government, which is fine. It's your business. Again, I don't advocate your guns being taken off you. We're better in this country with our culture without guns. It is better. We can't be trusted with fucking spoons, as I've said before, and I mean it. Fucking our island is full of fucking assholes. But everyone projects, and I see British people telling Americans they're fucking stupid for having guns, completely ignoring the fact they have a whole culture that isn't the same as ours. And yet the people that would attack Americans for that culture are the people that would tell me about cultural appropriation given half the chance. And you should respect other cultures. So Americans are as bad at projecting onto Brits as Brits are on them. I've been to America, as we've spoken before, fired guns, hugely enjoyable. Enjoyed myself immensely, still don't want to do it. But that doesn't mean I don't think anyone else should be allowed to. And if the public changed their mind on it, then there should be guns there as well.
I think Achilles just said where there's less guns, there's more crimes, and that is true. It's very, very true.
In
the
USA.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a big issue there in terms of, where there is the Democrats and the gun control and the rhetoric being put into action are the worst places.
Oh, it can't work. It can't work in America. I've said this all along.
Oh no! Hold up though.
You can't take guns away from people in the States.
The gun thing is true here in the UK as well, though. Where there's less guns, there's more crime. It's true in the UK.
Well, no, because no, that's not true. That's
Of course it is.
How do you draw that parallel?
Well, there's loads of guns in the Lake District, and it's the lowest crime rate in the country. It's not necessarily saying...
That is the shittest thing you've ever said on this fucking show.
It's not.
How many people live in the Lake District?
Yeah, I'm talking per capita, the crime rate. It's the safest place in the country.
Yeah, of course it is, but...
And yet there's more guns. Of course there are.
There's more farmers with shotguns, yes.
Yeah, but that's still
it's a massively rural area, and I think you'll find in America...
Yes.
In America, you would find...
You're projecting now, Aidan.
No, I'm not projecting, because...
Yes, you are. I said
made a
something very simple then.
You've come up with a stat and you've simplified it to the point of stupidity.
Yeah, because you jumped in straight away saying in the USA, but the same still applies to the UK. It's a complicated thing, but we still have...
You can't come up with those stats based on any reliability, apart from where there are more farmers, there is less congestion of people, there is less crime in general, not because of guns, just because of the societal differences. You know that to be true.
I'm not. I didn't say that wasn't the case.
No, but I believe. My point in America, if you hadn't jumped in with that fucking idiocy, that quite frankly, Booth, was beneath even you.
Lying, though. You just straight away. You went in the USA.
Yes, because in the States, just be quiet.
Yeah,
I'm trying to teach you here. Don't be willfully ignorant. If you look at Chicago,
yes,
okay. A part of the nation that is notorious for gun activity over the years, in a country that has a gun culture. If you take away guns, who are you taking them off?
What do you mean? I don't know, Aidan. I don't know.
The law-abiding people.
Right. Okay.
There is a massive amount of firearms in the States. Who's left with all the firearms?
Mm.
Okay, that's the difference. In the UK, our guns have fallen out of society. We always focus on after Hungerford with assault weapons and was it Dunblane? Or was that the plane crash? Thomas Hamilton, anyway, taking away handguns. By the way, not laws I agree with. However, it's very hard to draw that parallel. Obviously, I was being very facetious in saying it was the most stupid thing you said on this show.
It was perfectly factual accurate. You just wanted to project your own nonsense.
No, but how am I wrong? That if you take guns away in Chicago, obviously, you're going to have a criminal element that's massively weaponized from a culture that's used to guns.
In the UK.
But
when? Not to the same extent, but that's what happened here.
But not even close, because the availability and culture were different. Now we've got a problem with stabby people.
Yeah.
Massive problem with stabby people. If we had guns, they'd be shooting them instead.
Well, yeah, but we do get shootings, and we still get murders and everything. We get exactly the same things,
We also do get less murders per capita in general than the United States of America. From rural to city, we just do. There's a cultural difference. However, we have higher rates of muggings and things like that, because often they'd escalate to some fucker dying in an armed populace. So oversimplifying it in any way doesn't work. And my point was, if you take somewhere like Chicago, which I can show you right now, from a heavily armed place,
you just
take it
said
away.
In the USA, as if it was the only USA.
Yeah, and before I could finish,
and I was just pointing out
you jumped in with a bullshit stat, which ignores every other societal impact, whereas mine was based on society and culture.
I was saying it was nuanced. I agree with you on that. I didn't
if you
say
took away,
anything about that.
If you took away guns in the Lake District, let's test your theory.
That statement.
I love it when you get like this. I enjoy it.
The UK and the USA. That's all.
If we took the guns away from the farmers in the Lake District, what would happen?
Not a lot. They'd just be a lot more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. If you took farmers' shotguns away, they just couldn't shoot foxes and animals, because I believe if you look through the incident records now, the cases of farmers using a shotgun to defend themselves from criminals are probably very, very small.
Yeah, I get
especially because in this country, if they shot them, they go to prison for fucking longer than the criminals.
Yeah, you're saying that, but that's obvious, and I'm aware of that.
Yeah, so I think there's a massive difference when you have a culture that is used to firearms, where the criminal element are used to an armed population and therefore more willing to use firearms in the commission of a crime. It would be totally insensible to be in an area of the States where people are known to have firearms, and if you're burgling houses, not to be armed. So there's always an escalation. It's like a lot of Americans don't understand about our police, although more and more of them are becoming armed. A lot of our police officers don't want to be armed, only because they believe it would lead to an escalation. It's that simple. They don't want to be armed. They don't want it to escalate. So we have all these massive cultural things that many sides of us ignore. And when people say, well, a British person says they should just ban guns in America, it's like, how much do you fucking hate American people? It's like saying we should ban electricity in Britain. It would be chaos. It'd be fucking chaos and lead to deaths. If you banned guns in America tomorrow, it would be fucking insane.
Yeah, I mean, physically impossible. Look what's just happened in Virginia with them. Fucking loads of counties are already saying they're going to go and join West Virginia, aren't they?
Robert Morgan again. Crime goes down when population is armed. Yes, certain types of crime go down, but what goes up massively in most densely populated areas is death by firearms, either by a murder, manslaughter, or suicide. Suicide rates are actually higher where there's more availability of guns per capita. That is just an uncomfortable fact.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues with gun deaths in America is the suicide stats are almost always rolled into that overall number. So when you say 30,000 a year or whatever, but then when you break it down, and the vast majority of them are suicides, which are
But when you break
bad.
it down, it's still fucking insane. But
It
of
is
course, you're going
bad.
to get
It
more
is bad.
suicides where there are guns because guns offer. There's less work involved. There's
Yeah,
less time
yeah,
to
yeah.
change your mind. You just pick that fucker up and have a little cry and away you go.
It's more likely to go as well, isn't it? You're not going to snap the lampshade as you try and hang yourself or whatever. But ultimately, you're not. Somebody killing themselves, however they do it, isn't necessarily. Um, it's not a worry when you're walking the street, is it? It's not a crime. It's
Robert's
not a
missed the point
crime
again.
statistic.
No, of course it's not a crime
So
statistic. It was just one I included on the side.
no,
Suicides
it's
are
important. It's
self-crime.
there.
No, Robert, that wasn't my point. The US per capita has a far higher homicide rate than the UK. Far higher. Higher rape statistics. The only thing we beat you in is petty crime, burglary, property theft, which I do believe an armed populace deters people from. And if you're comfortable having less property theft but higher incidents, I mean, I know you're not comfortable, okay? I'm not. But there's a price for everything, isn't there? There's a price for everything, and an armed population does lead to these problems. But not just it's not only an armed population, because there are other countries with dense gun ownership that have the same thing. There's the whole cultural thing. There's a societal thing going on. So it's when people say you're just trying to take our guns, you can't take the guns out. Even if I could click my fingers and take away guns, all I'd be doing is killing innocent fucking Americans. Like that. I'd be killing thousands upon thousands of innocent Americans because it's just the way the culture is. Do I think there should be more common sense? Like I don't see the harm in background checks, but that's not my problem.
Yeah. Well, they already exist, don't they? It's not like a thing with
no. Sometimes they are a little. In some states, they're looser than others, shall we say? Less complex than others. But that's the price you pay. It's like the price we pay for having cars in society is that people get killed as a result of them being used and abused. There are prices for everything that we have. There's a price to pay, usually in terms of mortality. Is whether it's acceptable to society as a whole to some degree. That's why we have them. There we go.
There's a thing there about a strangle wank. I haven't done it. No, I'm not. I can see that though. I can see why I'd give that vibe. Thanks, Mark.
See, Achilles Weir has just said, for some reason, I bet petty thefts go down when people own guns and criminals get shot. Yes, I did say that. But what goes up are, for some reason, I mean, a lot of this isn't guns. It's, like I said, cultural, societal, rape, murder, things of that nature. Crimes that I find a little more unpleasant than petty theft. For example, I like to think I wouldn't shoot someone for stealing my car stereo. Although on the whole, I probably would. But I'd rather see more petty theft and less homicide. That's just me. Now, this is the interesting thing. Our society is changing. Violent crime thing, people's attitudes to it changing, and we're not going in a great place either. We're not going in a great direction. We seem to, whatever the madness is in the States, we're determined that we want a piece of that. We've always been arseholes, but now this stabby business, and something's influencing the culture, and I don't think it's heavy metal and Satan.
We've got a huge issue at the moment, man, and it's getting up like the amount of areas that you can't walk through. There's that, which have always been a thing in every city. There's always been the dodgy bits and all the rest of it. And like you said with burglaries, I've seen around here just openly checking houses out, and you phone the police.
Well, a lot of this now, we've got an underfunded police force.
If we are going to balance a supposedly safer society by not having weapons, then we need to have a society where there's fucking police everywhere.
And of course, now we're at this position where people say things are so bad we should have weapons. It's absolutely the worst time to introduce weapons, because you'd have to go through a particularly lawless period What we need is police funding to be improved. This won't stop anything. I know the police are there in minutes when you need them in seconds, all those things. But, you know, in the UK, we managed to get through without fatal home invasions for many, many years. Amazingly enough. The police force is dramatically underfunded and crippled with political correctness at the moment. No two ways around that. The judiciary, the justice system in the UK is on its fucking knees.
Yeah, that's a big issue at the moment.
Its knees. They're trying to kill legal aid. All these things are fucking. This is what we need to address.
And that fucker that just did the stabbing, he was let out early as well, wasn't he? On terrorist charges.
Do you know why they got to him so fast? They were following him.
They were already following him. Yeah. Like why let someone out if you then gonna have to pay to follow?
Was that big conspiracy? Who was that guy that had his face covered in the police cap thing that was there with him? What was this shady? So was it the SAS? No, it was just that was the copper that was following him.
Yeah.